October 17th, 1940. Paris, France. The air is heavy, laden with a mixture of rain and the unmistakable scent of fear that permeates the city's once vibrant streets. The Nazis have already entered, their boots echoing through the cobblestone alleys, their flags flapping in the wind. Paris, the city of lights, is now plunged into darkness. A curfew is imposed, and the French people are silenced. At least, that is what the occupiers think. But in the quietest corners, in the places where shadows stretch long into the night, defiance is born from the most unexpected of sources: a piano. In the basement of a small cafe hidden in the heart of the Latin Quarter, the atmosphere is thick with tension. There is no chatter, no clinking of glasses, no laughter, only the muffled sound of footsteps, hushed voices, and the sharp scrape of a chair being pulled out. A small group of people have gathered, drawn by whispers of a forbidden performance. They know the risks. The Gestapo, with its sharp eyes and iron grip, is everywhere, watching every movement, every action. One wrong word, one misstep, and it could be the end. Yet, here they are, sitting at tables scattered in the dim glow of candlelight, drawn by the promise of something greater than fear, freedom in the form of a melody. The pianist enters, his hands poised above the keys, but his face is full of something else, something far deeper than the usual concentration of a musician. The world outside is dangerous, and the notes he is about to play could carry a weight more profound than any performance he has ever given. His name is Etienne Durand, but tonight, in this small, clandestine setting, he is not just a pianist. He is a messenger, a link between the fractured world of occupied Paris and the scattered resistance that still fights to survive. As the first chords fall from his fingers, they are quiet, almost tentative. The sound is soft, delicate, like the brush of a fingertip across the surface of water. The notes float into the air, suspended for a moment in time, before they begin to settle around the listeners, who are caught in a spell of silence. It's as if they're listening not just to the music, but to something deeper, the weight of his choices, the unspoken understanding that every note he plays might bring the risk of death. No one speaks. There is no need. The audience knows this is not just a concert. It is something far more dangerous. Durand's music flows like a river, meandering through light and dark, its twists and turns carrying his listeners along on a journey they are unaware of. His fingers dance across the keys with a precision that belies the tension in his chest. He is not just playing for the people before him. He is playing for something much larger. Each note, carefully placed, each pause, carefully timed, carries a hidden message. Hidden not in the melody, but in the way it unfolds, in the space between the sounds, the way it bends time itself. To the untrained ear, it would sound like a beautiful, melancholic piece, the kind of music one might expect from a city still reeling from the shock of occupation. But to those who understand the code, who have learned to hear not just the music, but the silence, it is a message that speaks to the heart of the resistance. The genius of Durand's music lies not in its technical brilliance, though that is undeniable, but in its ability to communicate in a language no one thought to use. The world is listening for the wrong things. They're listening for words, for signals, for the typical methods of communication used in times of war. But Etienne Durand understands something that no one else does. He knows that music, the universal language of the soul, can speak where words cannot. The notes he plays are not merely melodies. They are coded instructions, hidden in plain sight. The rhythm, the pauses, the key changes, they all carry meaning. They carry directions, plans, warnings. For those in the resistance, it is a code they have painstakingly learned to decipher. The codes are not new. They have existed for centuries in different forms, but they are seldom used in this way. The beauty of the idea is that no one would think to listen for it. The Nazis are too busy watching for the overt signs of rebellion, graffiti on walls, underground publications, whispers in the dark. But music? Music is something they would never suspect. But for all the brilliance of Durand's plan, the truth remains. No one in the audience knows what they are hearing. They don't understand the danger in the air, the magnitude of what they are witnessing. They are transfixed, yes, but they are unaware that the melody that has so effortlessly captured their hearts is also carrying with it the weight of life and death. Durand is playing not just for them, but for the unknown others who will hear the same music, the ones who will understand the code and use it to carry out their own acts of defiance. And yet, there's a part of Durand that wonders, as his fingers fly across the keys, if this will be the last concert he ever plays. The stakes are high. The Gestapo is everywhere. Even now, the whispers of betrayal hang over the cafe like a dark cloud. One person could hear the wrong thing, speak the wrong word, and the whole operation could come crashing down. The pianist's heart beats in time with the music, but with each passing note, he feels a growing unease. There is no room for error, no margin for failure. If they get caught, it will not just be his death, they will bring down the entire network. As the final chords ring out, the room is eerily silent. For a moment, there is no applause, no recognition, just a collective breath held in the dark. Durand stands up, his body tense, his mind racing. He has done his part, but now the hard work begins. The message must reach its destination. The listeners must understand it, decode it, and act. If they fail, it will be as if the performance never happened. It will be as if he never played at all. But there is no time to dwell on that now. He gives a small nod to the audience, a wordless acknowledgement, before he slips out into the night. His footsteps are soft, almost imperceptible, but inside his chest his heart is pounding. As he walks through the darkened streets of Paris, he knows that he is a part of something far greater than himself. Something dangerous, something life-altering, but also something that no one will ever fully understand. The music he has played tonight will fade from memory. For those who were there, it will become just another beautiful concert, another night of fleeting beauty in a world already too broken. And yet, the message will continue to resonate, in places and with people who are not even aware of its existence. The melody will pass through the veins of the resistance, moving like a whisper through the underground, unnoticed by the very forces that seek to stifle it. And in the end, when the history of this time is written, Etienne Durand will not be remembered as a hero. He will not be celebrated as the man who used music to fight a war. He will be lost to time, just another name in the long list of forgotten resistance fighters. But for those who understand, for those who hear the notes he played in secret, his music will live on. And that, perhaps, is the only victory that truly matters. Because in a world where silence is the price of survival, his music became the loudest defiance of all. November 3rd, 1941. Paris, France. The city's once bustling streets are now eerily quiet, shrouded in a heavy fog of oppression. The rumble of Nazi trucks and the harsh commands of soldiers punctuate the stillness, but the heart of Paris still beats in the underground, quietly, with a defiant rhythm. As the city breathes beneath the iron hand of occupation, the resistance continues to flicker, fragile yet unyielding, like embers caught in the wind. And at the center of this fragile network, Etienne Durand plays again, but not for an audience. This time, the music he creates is far more dangerous. The cafe in a Latin Quarter is even darker than it was the last time he performed. The dim candlelight now flickers in shadows, casting elongated shapes across the cracked walls. Durand sits at the piano, but his fingers no longer hover uncertainly above the keys. They are poised, deliberate, as if the weight of what he is about to do could shatter the world around him. He knows that this performance is unlike any other. Tonight, there will be no applause. There will be no appreciative nods from an audience eager for beauty or distraction. Tonight, his music will carry something far more urgent, a message. The room is filled with people, but they're not the same people who attended his concert just weeks ago. These are not casual music lovers. They're the core of the resistance. Men and women who have risked everything to fight back against the encroaching tide of tyranny. They know what's at stake. Each note he plays, each phrase he weaves through the keys, carries something that could change the course of the war or destroy them all. The pianist's eyes dart from the sheet music in front of him to the faces around the room. His fingers tremble slightly, but it is not fear of being caught. No, his heart races for another reason. Because the very nature of the music he plays tonight is unlike anything he has ever composed. The melody he will play is encoded, woven with a sequence of notes that carry vital instructions for the resistance. Locations of German patrols, a list of collaborators, the planned movements of the Allies in their upcoming attack. These are not simply musical notes. They are life or death instructions for those who can hear them and understand. And yet, for all his preparation, there is no guarantee the audience will recognize what he has created. To the untrained ear, it will sound like an exquisite, melancholy piece, a reflection of the sorrow that now defines the city. But for those who know the language, those who have learned to hear the hidden rhythm in the pauses, the code embedded in the chords, it will mean everything. The pianist has spent countless hours crafting the notes, carefully selecting which melodies would carry the most information without drawing suspicion. He has practiced in secret, making sure each tone and key change is exactly where it should be. This is not just music, it is a lifeline. As his fingers fall upon the keys, a hush spreads across the room. The melody begins, slow and deliberate, as if testing the waters. The first few bars carry the mournful tone of a city in mourning. It is a song that evokes memories of better times, of laughter, of long walks along the Seine. But the sadness is not just personal. It is the collective grief of a nation crushed under the boot of a foreign power. The music is haunting, like the echoes of a forgotten past. For a moment, the audience is lulled into the music, unaware of the danger lurking just beneath the surface. It is only when Durand changes the key, only when the rhythm shifts ever so slightly, that they begin to sense something is different. His fingers press harder now, the notes faster, more urgent. The melody swells with emotion, rising like a wave that cannot be stopped. But within the crescendo, there is a hidden pattern, a coded sequence of rhythms, a shift in tempo, a certain harmonic progression that signals to the resistance operatives in the room. This is the signal. This is the key that will unlock their next move. A line of music that seems like an innocent flourish is, in fact, a directive to move, in order to prepare for the upcoming operation. The sounds that flow from Durand's hands are not just abstract beauty. They are a secret language, a map of survival and defiance. But not everyone in the room understands it. The resistance members, who have been trained in these codes, are the only ones who can decipher the music. For them, the notes are a map, a guide, a warning. They understand that the melody does not merely exist in its notes. It exists in its structure, its progression, its pauses. And it is in these moments of silence, just before the music swells, that the most vital information is hidden. A pause in the music can mean a change in strategy, a shift in the timing of an attack, or the location of a key target. Each phrase carries the weight of a decision, each breath a moment that could change everything. And yet, there is a growing tension in Durand's mind. As he plays, he feels the weight of their trust in him, the responsibility to get it right. If one note is off, if one key change is too subtle or too obvious, it could be the end. The Gestapo is always watching, always listening for anything that could be considered a threat. They have no idea that a seemingly innocuous concert could carry the weight of an entire movement. Durand has no illusions. He knows that they will stop at nothing to silence the resistance. And if they catch wind of what he's doing, it will not only mean his death, but the destruction of everything they've worked for. For a brief moment, his mind drifts to the past, to the time before the war, when music was just music, when he played for the pure joy of creation, for the sound of harmony and rhythm, not for the fear of being caught or the weight of espionage. Those days now seem like a distant dream, a memory buried beneath the layers of tragedy and survival. But as he continues to play, there is still a small part of him that hopes that this music, this forbidden symphony, will bring about change. Hopes that the melodies he has created will reach the right ears at the right time and save lives. The room is tense, every listener hanging on the edge of their seat. They're no longer just spectators. They're participants in something far greater than themselves. They are collaborators in a war being fought in the shadows, in the spaces between the notes. Durand feels their presence like a living thing, like an entity that exists only because of the trust they place in him. He is not just playing for them. He is playing for the future, for a moment when the darkness will finally break. The music reaches a fever pitch, a crescendo that leaves the room breathless. The last note rings out, hanging in the air, vibrating with the tension that lingers after the storm has passed. There is a long moment of silence before the spell breaks. The listeners, who have been so caught up in the music, seem unsure of how to respond. The tension is still palpable, but they know that something has happened. They know that Durand has delivered, though they may not fully understand the magnitude of what he has just done. The pianist stands up slowly, his body tense, his hands trembling slightly from the emotional weight of what he has just created. The room is silent, still, as if everyone is processing the enormity of the moment. No one speaks. There is no applause, no clapping. Instead, they exchange knowing glances, silent acknowledgement of what has transpired. Durand nods to the group, a gesture that communicates far more than words ever could. He steps away from the piano, the tension in his body beginning to ease, but only slightly. The performance is over, but the real work has just begun. The music has been delivered, but now it is up to those who understand it to act. They must decode the message, use it to take action, and hope that the Gestapo has not yet discovered the game they are playing. As Durand exits the cafe, his mind races. The night air is cold, biting, but it feels like a reprieve, a brief moment of calm before the storm. The streets of Paris are still and empty, save for the occasional passing German soldier. He knows that the risks are growing. With every performance, the chances of discovery increase. But there is no turning back now. The music has been played, and in its quiet defiance, it has set into motion something far greater than himself, far beyond the confines of the cafe or the music that filled its walls. He is not just a pianist anymore. He is a man caught between the past and the future, between art and survival, between beauty and violence. And yet, despite the danger, despite the uncertainty of what lies ahead, he knows that his music will live on, quietly, in the spaces where the war has yet to reach, in the hearts of those who fight, in the notes that will continue to echo through the resistance. June 15th, 1944. Paris, France. The war is nearing its end, but the city is still a battlefield, fractured by years of occupation and bloodshed. The streets that were once filled with joy and laughter now lie under a thick shroud of dust and destruction. The last remnants of the German forces are holed up in their remaining strongholds, their once proud banners now stained with defeat. But for Etienne Durand, the pianist who once risked everything to send secret messages through his music, victory feels distant, a hollow echo of a battle that, in many ways, he lost long before the Allies entered the city. It's been years since his last concert, years since the melodies he once played to guide the resistance were heard by anyone. The underground networks have scattered, some of them destroyed, others forgotten in the rush of post-war chaos. The people who risked their lives to hear those notes, to decode the hidden messages, have been erased from history. The war is over, the city is free, but the people who fought in the shadows, the ones whose sacrifices truly made victory possible, are slipping into obscurity. And Etienne, once a hero in whispered circles, is nothing more than a footnote, a name that may never be remembered.